Good day, everybody. My name is Abdullahi Musa Borodo, live and direct from the ancient city of Kano on this my great YouTube channel. Thank you very much for the time being and for the time that I've gotten to watch my videos here and there. Thank you very much. I really appreciate. Today I'm going to be talking about a certain health topic. The topic is vectors and vector-borne diseases. Vectors and vector-borne diseases. But before I venture into the topic proper, I would like to use this opportunity to solicit from you. I want to humbly ask, please, if you haven't subscribed upon my YouTube channel, try and do so now. I will really appreciate such if you can do that. And I would also like to solicit you to please try and share this YouTube video you are seeing to other social media platforms so that at least each and other people out there can benefit from this immense video. Thank you very much for doing so. And if you want to see my new videos as they trickle in, you can tap on the subscription bell just beside the subscription icon so that you can get to see my new videos as they trickle in. Back to my topic, that's the vectors and vector-borne diseases. So vectors, as we know, there are two definitions. There's the physical definition and the biological definition. Now, if I remember my secondary school days, we define vector as a quantity that has two independent properties. Number one, it has magnitude, and number two, it has direction. While a scalar quantity usually has only magnitude and doesn't have direction. We know example of scalars could be temperature and distance, like distance in kilometer, temperature in degrees Celsius. While examples of vectors could be, we have force. Force is a measurement of mass times acceleration. This is a vector. Another example of another vector is momentum. Momentum is mass times velocity. That's also another example. And subsequently, I also have another example of a vector, that's acceleration. Velocity also is a measure as a vector because distance over time gives you meter per second, and so that is the measure of magnitude and direction. So velocity is also a vector. So that's vector on the physical proper point of view. That's for the physics side. Now, if we take vectors biologically, vectors are animals actually. They are organisms that usually transmit pathogens, infectious pathogens from animals to humans or from one human to another human. These are actually organisms. They are living organisms biologically. So these organisms they are usually insects, blood-sucking insects. How they do that is usually when they are taking blood meals from an infected person or an infected animal. They usually take that blood meal, and subsequently, if they go and take another blood meal on a healthy individual, they usually transmit these infectious pathogens. So by such doing, they're transmitting the infectious pathogen from an unhealthy human being or an unhealthy animal to a healthy human being. So, but there are these diseases, because vector-borne diseases are still infectious diseases, but not really all infectious diseases that are being transmitted by vectors. Now, for example, if we take tuberculosis, the causative agent is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, but likely it doesn't have any classical vector that transmits it. Also, if we take meningitis, causative agent is Neisseria meningitidis, but likely there isn't any classical organism that usually transmits it. Subsequently, HIV and AIDS, the human immunosufficiency virus, usually is being transmitted but not classically by a certain type of vector. And if you can also take this disease, hepatitis, their causative agents are hepatotropic viruses like hepatitis B and hepatitis C, and not really likely they are being transmitted by a certain classical vector. So they are infectious diseases, but they are also vector-borne infectious diseases. So to say that the World Health Organization stated that more than 17% of the total infectious diseases are usually vector-borne infectious diseases, and they account for like more than 700,000 deaths globally of infectious diseases. So their vectors are of really public health importance, if you can see right here. So we have some categories of vectors, especially us here in sub-Saharan Africa. We know there are some diseases that are usually, I won't say peculiar, but are more prevalent in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria inclusive. So I'll just try and list these vectors so that at least we can have a sense of belonging of how they behave, how they transmit these diseases. Number one, we take the mosquitoes. Now, the female Anopheles mosquito usually transmits the malarial infection, and after that, it also transmits lymphatic filariasis. But the causative agent for that malarial infection is the Plasmodium falciparum. Now, the Aedes mosquito usually transmits diseases like dengue fever, like Zika virus fever, and also I forgot the other disease. So the Aedes mosquito, the Culex mosquito also transmits the lymphatic filariasis. So you see these grades of mosquitoes, actually they transmit different kind of diseases, but they are all mosquitoes. But one is Anopheles, one is Culex, and the other is Aedes mosquito. Now the aquatic snails, usually snails that are not found in aquatic habitats, they also transmit certain types of disease. Usually this disease is called schistosomiasis, otherwise known as bilharzia in this setting in sub-Saharan Africa. So but the real causative agent of that schistosomiasis or bilharzia, there are some species of schistosoma that cause them. So they are Schistosoma mansoni, Schistosoma japonicum, Schistosoma mekongi, and Schistosoma hematobium. These are the causative agents, but they are being transmitted vector-wise by what? By those vectors I call aquatic snails. So after that, we have the sandfly. The sandfly is also a very important public health vector because it transmits the disease called leishmaniasis. Leishmaniasis is being transmitted by the sandfly, but the causative agent, real causative agent of leishmaniasis are the leishmaniasis species. We have a species called the Phlebotomus papasi. So it is also one of the causative agents of leishmaniasis. Subsequently, I also have the black fly. The black fly is also a vector that transmits a certain disease called onchocerciasis. Onchocerciasis, otherwise known in African setting as river blindness. But the real causative agent of onchocerciasis is what? Onchocerca volvulus. But at the same time, it is the vector black fly that transmits that disease, while the causative agent is Onchocerca volvulus. After the sandfly, also have the triatom bugs. These triatom bugs usually they are vectors that transmit American trypanosomiasis, otherwise known as the Chagas disease. So the African trypanosomiasis is being transmitted by what? The tsetse fly. And tsetse fly transmits it to sub-Saharan Africa, usually give rise to a disease known as African trypanosomiasis, or otherwise known as sleeping sickness. While for the American trypanosomiasis is being transmitted by this causative, by this vector I called triatom bugs, and the causative agents are also classes of trypanosoma species. So generally these are some vectors and how they transmit. So in essence, the preventable tips that I would like to relate to you, so that at least we should try as much as possible to see that these vectors, we recognize them, and at the same time we avoid their harmful habits they portend to us through our natural health. Number one, at least we should try as much as possible to see that we bait off the biting effects of these insects, because usually they are blood-sucking insects. So we should try as much as possible to put on protective clothes so that we can have this protection against the bites of these insects, because they are insects but at the same time they are vector that transmit diseases. So it's very important we differentiate vectors and non-vector insects. Subsequently, I can also advise we should try as much as possible to clear bushy areas around our residential housing quarters, so that at least those places wouldn't be harboring these vectors. If those places are not harboring these vectors, there's unlikely fact that maybe these vectors wouldn't flourish in our surroundings. even not even come to the terms of transmitting these infectious diseases to us. And subsequently, our water drainages should be clearly, all the water drainages that are around us, we should try as much as possible to treat them, and even if we can fumigate them so that at least all the eggs of these insects wouldn't flourish and they will all be killed off. So that will be also very important in ensuring and curbing the effect of vectors while they are transmitting these transmissible vector-borne diseases to our African human population. After that, we can also try as much as possible, like for malaria, we can use the insecticide treated nets so that we can protect ourselves from mosquito bites. We can also use the insecticide residual spray using insecticides and fumigation drugs so that at least we can try and kill off these insects in our surroundings. That is also an option. And finally, I would like to say that the pregnant women and the children are a category of people that are at risk of several infectious diseases. We should try as much as possible to see that we encourage our pregnant women to visit antenatal care units, that in the long run will get this anti-malarial prophylaxis that usually help against malarial infection. I would also like to advocate that children under 5 years should be immensely immunized for age, because you don't know which infectious disease will spare your child or which one wouldn't. So we should try as much as possible for age of every child. Age supposedly routine immunization should be given at that age. We shouldn't skip immunization for any reason, because children under 5, they have low immunity. If this infectious disease strike their body, usually the morbidity and prognosis is very poor. It usually comes down with a lot of mortality, morbidity, and we won't be happy about that when our children that are future later in life are becoming so deteriorated by diseases here and there. Now, before I round up, I want to talk about other pests that are found in the household. Now, number one, we have the housefly. Usually, the housefly is all around. You will see it all around. It usually flies from healthy food to unhealthy food. It flies from a liquid surface to a solid surface. So that's how it does. So the World Health Organization even especially stated that this housefly transmits around 65 diseases alone, because usually it consumes a lot of food, and while consuming that food, it consumes a lot of infectious pathogens. Its flies, its wings here, they also usually take upon these infectious pathogens, and so it flies around every now and then with pathogens. Important diseases that it causes: number one, we have the typhoid fever, we have dysentery, we have cholera, and we have conjunctivitis. They spread these diseases like wildfire. Now, the second pest is the cockroach. Usually, we find cockroaches around our house, usually in dark rooms, usually in food storage locations, in toilets, filthy areas. Usually, we see that cockroaches doesn't like light, and whenever you switch off the light, they usually run away. But they like places that are humid, that are some temperate places, humid places, dark places. So they flourish around that place, and they also actually transmit a lot of infectious pathogens. Importantly, important ones among them, usually we have the typhoid fever, also dysentery, and also the poliovirus. So it's very important we try as much as possible to ensure that our houses are being get rid of these pests that are doing damage to our health. And finally, we have the rodents, usually rats. Rats are usually associated with a lot of diseases. Some of the rats that are wild rats are associated with Lassa fever. Some of those rats that are found domestically, especially the ratty ring, is associated with one bacterial disease called leptospirosis. Leptospirosis, if untreated and left, can exacerbate into severe kidney or liver damage. Also, we also have the rat bite fever. This rat bite fever usually is from the scratches and bites of rats on humans, and you have these feverish-like conditions, and that's also a disease that these rats causes. And also, there's this disease called salmonellosis. This salmonellosis is also a disease that's been transmitted by rats. So there are also thousands, I would say thousands, but a lot of other diseases that are indirectly transmitted by these pests and rodents. So So we should try as much as possible to see that we identify these rodents, we identify these pests, we identify these vectors, and try as much as possible to see that our natural health is not being impaired upon by the action of these vectors and rodents in our homes. We should try and do the needful in helping the United Nations commitment against infectious diseases, especially here in Nigeria and in sub-Saharan Africa. So I would likely thankfully appreciate you for having time to view this video. And if you are viewing this video, I will humbly ask, please and please try and share this video to other social media platforms so that other people can benefit. And I will likely see you in my subsequent video. Thank you very much. Until then, stay healthy, hearty, and happy.